to win in 2020 in the moving business, you've got to have your marketing on point. You've got to know your numbers, your marketing ROI report. Then your sales process has to be more than, hey, we call people, we leave them a message, and we move on, and that's it. You've got to really dial that in. And then you've got to make sure you've got your mover hiring process down. Companies that are crushing it right now, right? They've got all three of these things lined up solidly. You know, what a lot of people do is they go, no, that's too much work. That's going to take too long. All it is steps. Do this, do that, do this, do that. Take the steps, but believe that it's possible. Anybody that is feeling this way, they don't believe that it's possible, right? They're like, the world's going on, and the world's going to end. Like, you've got to block all that out. Ignore that. Go for what's in front of you, because the iron is hot right now and a lot of people are making a lot of money. This is the reality. So either get good at it or get out of the business.
Yeah, you got to adapt.
You got to adapt. Yeah. And the people that are adapting are crushing it. All right, my friend, welcome to the Moving Mastery Podcast. This is Massaro. I got my main man, Chris, with me today. What's going on?
What's up?
All right, so in these episodes, it is all about helping you take your moving company to that next level, eliminate the stress, overcome any challenges, any obstacles that you're having, make more money, be able to spend more time with your family, create a model business, and just let this business that you're in be the vehicle to the life that you want to live, right?
Yes.
That's what we're trying to do. So in these episodes, what we're doing is we're taking questions from my social media feed. If you are following me on any platform, it's at louismassaro.com. That's LOUISMASSARO. If you have any questions, anything you want us to tackle on the Moving Mastery Podcast, just DM me on Instagram. And Chris randomly pulls some out. And, well, I wouldn't say randomly. He's not picking them out of a hat. You're hand selecting them because as the producer of the podcast, essentially, you're kind of running the show. I'm just here to answer whatever the questions are.
I'd like to go through the comments, the questions, the things that come into our support desk and find stuff that I think that maybe a lot of people may be wondering about, and stuff that I feel like you can shed some light on and bring some value to these people who are our listeners and stuff. So,
yeah. What do we got?
So today I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you today. I mentioned earlier that it's a comment this time. It's not necessarily a question, but I wanted to kind of lay this on you and see how you feel about it. But I have a feeling that there may be, maybe not a lot, but some people who share this gentleman's sentiments. Okay. And I don't know anything about him. I didn't follow up with this. It's just a comment that was on one of our social media outlets. So I'll read it to you, and then I just want to hear how you feel about it.
All right.
Okay. The comment is, I've been in the business for 22 years, and I can tell you everything has gone to shit. He says,
"Oh man,
internet marketing is a joke. Guys don't want to work. Yelp takes down all my good reviews.
Oh boy.
I'm not so sure it's all as easy as you make it out to be. Get real, buddy." That's what he said.
Really?
Yeah. So, hey, listen, there's some truth behind that. There's some, heartfelt sentiment behind that. I feel like, I don't want to make fun of the guy. He's having maybe some
I'm
hard
not
times.
making fun of the guy. I'm just, I'm in shock a little bit. I wasn't expecting that. All right. So hold on. Let me just make sure I got this right. 22 years in the business has gone to shit. Guys don't want to work. Yelp reviews come down. What else?
He says, I'm not so sure it's as easy as you make it out to be. Get real, buddy.
Okay. All right. Give me a minute. This is, yeah. This is a good one.
It's a good one, right? Well,
But you know what? Here's the deal. I think that 22 years, so I started 20 years ago.
Yep.
So he's probably in business since 98.
That's 22 years.
So 98 to now, things have definitely changed.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Right? 98 till now. Let's just say 2000 till now, because that's when I got in. Right?
Okay.
2 years after he got in. So things have definitely changed. Gone to shit? No. Guys don't want to work? It's a challenge. right? Yelp reviews coming in and out. Yelp didn't exist 20 years ago, right? Not so easy. I don't know that I've ever sat here and said that this is easy at all.
Yeah.
Right? All the time, like, this is not a get-rich-quick business.
Definitely not.
It's a great business that if you do it right, you can make a lot of money, right? But here's the deal, because I do see this a lot with veterans. Not veterans of our country, but veterans in the business, right? People that have been in the business for a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that there's a few, couple different groups, right? This guy sounds like he just hasn't made the shift to the new way of doing things, right? And there's been a few dramatic shifts. Did he say something about everything on the internet or internet marketing or something?
He said internet marketing is a joke.
Yeah. So, let's just kind of look at that, because, in order to win today in this day and age, right? In order to win in 2020, because we know there's companies crushing it.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yes. We see them every day.
And then there's other people that are they believe it's possible, but they still haven't found the way to do it. And then there's people that have seen it just get, I shouldn't say harder, but it just has changed the way that it's adjusted from back then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when I started, I put the Yellow Page ad in, right? Sat back, my feet up on the desk once I had a desk, once I moved out of the truck rental yard, and just, phone rang and booked moves.
Yeah, different game back then.
Different game. And then so, 2007, 2008, there's like the perfect storm, right?
The economy.
Yellow Pages stops working. That traditional, I shouldn't say stops, for the money you're paying, it's not worth it anymore.
For a while there, just real quick, how many different Yellow Page books were you in at one time? Didn't you have like a bunch of them?
Man, every city you were in, right, I had 6 offices. So every city you were in, there was like the main book from the main phone company. Yeah. Right. Then there was, I don't want to name any of them because I don't. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. But then there was like another phone provider. Then there was another Yellow Page provider. Right. There was like at least 2 to 3 major providers in each city. Yeah. And then they all started coming out with different, like, we have this area book, right? For the south side of town. And the east side, they have an area book. I'm like, don't they get the main book? Yeah, but we also want to give them this little book. Yeah. So that they, it was just a way to get more.
I remember I had a stack of them.
It was just a way to get more money out of you. So total spending $250,000 a month on Yellow Pages at the peak. So anyways, when that stopped working, right? And so I'm telling this story because I want to illustrate how to adapt. Right? We're talking about this guy, and I know a lot of people feel that way. Maybe not with such a negative tone to it, but they feel like maybe it was easier back then. It would have been very easy for me to argue, oh man, it's these internet leads and this and that and all this stuff online. It's whatever, and just complain about it. Mm-hmm. But the reality was, I saw that that's where things were going, and I had to make that shift, and I had to make that adjustment. So instead of fighting it like a lot of people did, right, I jumped in and I learned, right, what SEO, pay-per-click, leads, just internet marketing in general, right, all of that. How do I, part of me operating my business as I need phone calls, I need leads, I need people that are moving. How do I continue to get those? Yeah. Right? So you're talking about that time frame there, like 2007, 2008, and even before that, leads were coming out. There was stuff going on, but I didn't really make that adjustment until around that time. But the reality is that, a lot of people that didn't make it through the recession, it wasn't that the recession did it to them. It was that they didn't make the adjustment that they needed to make in the way that they handled marketing, and continued to spend money in areas that were no longer working. And I shouldn't say refused, but did not adapt and learn the new ways of generating leads for their business. Yeah. And so here we are 22 years later, and he says, the internet marketing is terrible. I think the internet marketing is an amazing thing for companies out there. Your flexibility that you have now compared to then, yeah, it was great. You put a yellow page on, and it was easy, meaning there was less steps involved.
Yeah.
But you also had less control. Where now you're able to tweak, you're able to modify, you're able to, really track everything, and you can make changes, quickly.
Right.
You're not stuck with something for an entire year. You want to open a new market, you don't have to wait for the yellow pages to come out, right? You go open whenever you want to go open and start your marketing, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I had to make that shift, or I wouldn't have been able to stay in business, right? With the marketing. Then it was, okay, I'm getting all these internet leads, right? And I was like, even stuff, pay-per-click, whatever, anything that wasn't a phone call.
Yeah.
Phone calls are gold. Even today, your phone rings, don't ever miss that.
That's right.
Don't ever miss that. But how do we used to print them off on the printer, right? The leads used to come and walk around and like hand out pieces of paper.
Wow.
Back then, that was when the leads first started. Like there was no CRM with the leads coming directly into them and all that.
Yeah.
It was, here's the leads. Hey, call this. And they would write on there what they did their whole lead follow-up on the sheet of paper that we printed out.
Wow.
And so this was now starting to get out of control. And so I had to shift again, right? And adapt again to the times. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that these leads aren't getting lost? What do I need to do where I walk up to a moving consultant's desk and I see a stack of these leads with like handwritten notes, coffee stains, all kind, like it just wasn't organized at all. And that's when, I went from studying marketing and learning that to studying call centers, right? Studying sales, how other industries, basically handled this type of stuff.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I didn't sit there and say, oh, this is terrible. The good old days, it used to be on the phone. And, believe me, there was part of me that was resistant to it, but I knew I had to adapt and I had to change. And I'm saying this because it sounds like he's, for a long, long time, he's resisted, making the adjustments that need to get made. Yeah. So it was like, first, you got to learn internet marketing is here to stay, period. When somebody wants a service, they go online, they look for it. You've got to learn how to be at the end of every path that they choose, meaning customer goes on computer, they Google movers in my city, let's just say. Well, everything that shows up, you want to make sure that you're on the end of every single one of those paths.
I see.
So if it's like your site directly, you get the lead. If it's a lead provider, you get the lead, right? Then you need to make sure that it's all profitable, right? We won't necessarily get into that too deep right now. But so that was the first piece, the marketing. But then the sales piece, like how do you, start to, for me, the leads came out once I had 5 offices already.
Okay.
And so I had a good handful of I think at first maybe like 15 reps approximately.
Okay.
Right? In those early days. And how do I make sure that the money that I'm spending on the marketing is not going to waste? Right?
Well, first of all, let's back up. For a guy in this situation, let's just say he's never bought leads before. He's never been in that situation.
Well, just so you know, when I say leads, I'm talking about any form of marketing. So it could be from your website. It could be, modern day. It could be from Yelp.
I see.
So when I say leads, I don't necessarily only mean moving leads from moving lead providers.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's even just going from being an old school, phone book only, maybe they'll put out a few little flyers or something, to getting like a structured, lead management process or anything like that. Like, how does that even happen? Like, did you had to make that transition? Was it something that you were able to do quickly, or is it like a process? It takes time. Like, how did it go?
I opened my call center so my offices all had they all handled their sales individually. And one office was doing great, another office wasn't. So I'm like, I need a centralized call center. I opened that in 2004 or 5. I can't remember correctly, exactly. But, and then, for 11 years, I built my call center to the point we had 60, 70 reps on the phone, so booking nationwide. And that 11 years was all perfecting that process.
Wow.
Right? Lead comes in. When do we call it? How many times do we call it back? What's the approach? What forms of communication do we call them on? If this rep's not there, what do we do with that lead? If a phone call comes in, how do we route that phone call? What are we saying to every one of the customers based on if it's a local or long distance job, right? If they say they're not ready to move, what do we say about that and it was all of it was all to just increase that booking percentage.
Yeah.
Right? You got X amount of leads. How do we book more of them? How do we book more of them?
Just incrementally, one little decimal point at a time.
Yeah. So I would say over the course of 11 years, I feel like I came pretty close to perfecting a system for, what I call a sales machine for the moving business.
Yeah.
And, so that was like the second big shift. Right. It was like, you got to get the marketing, right? Shift your way from the old ways to the new way. Then you've got to build a sales machine. I mean, anybody that's, been following me for any amount of time knows like that's the main thing that I go after is like, you've got to build a sales machine. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, doesn't matter how good your crews are, doesn't matter how great your trucks look, doesn't matter how many people you have in your office. If you don't have consistent moves being put on the board and they're high paying jobs that you're not just discounting, you're gonna have a really hard time.
Sounds like kind of maybe that might be what this guy's going through. He's just not having consistency.
Well, it sounds like he hasn't adapted to the marketing.
Yeah.
Right. And listen, I don't want to out this guy.
No.
Because it's hard to learn all this stuff when you're I remember I'm like in the moving business, everything is great, right? I've got 5 offices, making money.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about marketing because the phone just rings from the yellow pages. I'm like, hey, back then it's like if you had the balls to put the money up for the yellow page ad and you had the ability to sell. See, I had the ability to sell from day one.
Yeah.
Those were sales tactics. I just didn't have the sales systems down. Right. But if you had that ability to do it, then you were good. But now when that stops working, it's panic mode. And what a lot of people do in panic mode is they retreat, right? And it's not a test to anybody's character or him or anybody else, but it can be scary. I mean, to be in a business where like all this time you've known things to work a certain way, and all of a sudden they're totally different. I remember the feeling.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like at first I'm like, yeah, no problem, I'm gonna go learn. Like it wasn't. It took a while. It took a lot of denial of what was happening and what was going on, and that's not going to last, to finally saying, you know what, if I don't learn this, if I don't get on top of this now, I'm going to be in a really, really bad spot. Okay. Right. And it's true. I mean, if you're not dialed in on your internet marketing, and your marketing in general, you're going to be in a really bad position. And I tell people all the time, like, you as the moving company owner need to be the best marketer in your business. Right. Don't hire an agency and expect them to come in and, if you need them to do specific things for you, technical pay-per-click SEO type things, great. But you don't need some big branding agency to come in and brand your business. You just need to learn what it is about the marketing. Right. Okay. Same thing with the sales. But now in this, in 2020, we've got a new obstacle. Right?
What's that?
Well, now, there was, hey, you've got to learn internet marketing. You've got to get on top of that. Okay. Then you've got to create your sales machine. Both of these still are true today. Mm-hmm. So whoever doesn't have, before I get into like the challenge today in 2020, you still got to have your marketing on point. You still have to have a strong sales process. But now there's another piece, which is your ability to hire and train movers quickly.
Right. That's a lot of what he said there was guys don't want to work.
It's true. Guys don't want to work. Listen, I'm not sugarcoating anything. The reality is it's a different generation. It's a different type of, they don't want to go and lift, move furniture for a living. It's different than it was. There's a lot of other opportunities, or at least perceived opportunities. Yeah. In this social media world that we're in, where everybody's like, hey, do this, you can make a bunch of money online, or, guys could go work for Uber or whatever the case may be. There's no doubt that there is a shortage of drivers, that there is a challenge in getting movers. Mm-hmm. However, the people that have this process down for hiring are winning, and they're winning big.
Right.
Right? So what I mean by that is it's easy to sit here and say, oh, it's so hard to hire movers these days. They don't want to work. They go and work here. They want more money. It's just so hard. It's so hard. And it's easy to get caught up in that mindset. It's easy for an owner to listen to his dispatcher that's in charge of hiring and bringing movers on board and getting them into the rotation, telling him how hard it is. And it just starts to infect everybody. I'm not saying that there's not truth to the fact that it's harder to do.
Okay.
What I'm saying is this is the reality. So either get good at it or get out of the business.
Yeah, you got to adapt.
You got to adapt.
Yeah.
And the people that are adapting are crushing it.
Right.
Right. So it's like, I talk to a lot of people. We talk to a lot of people. We hear a lot from what's going on. I've got, good amount of private clients that I work with directly in their business.
Yep.
And the ones that they've got their marketing on point, they know their numbers in their marketing, they're testing, they're tracking, they're tweaking. They've got their sales machine going. And now they've added this piece of hiring movers and not complaining about how hard it is, but just doing the additional work that it takes to make it happen. They're winning.
They're winning.
They're making a lot of money. They're expanding. They're opening additional locations, and they're not worried about that.
Yeah.
If we just take a step back and we say, okay, what's this all about? Forget about 22 years ago. Forget about today, right? It's a moving business.
Yeah.
What do people want? They want to hire a professional moving company. Okay. So as a professional moving company, what do I need to do to get that job and be in front of them and be successful? I've got to be able to generate leads and book moves.
Step one.
Your sales machine.
Yep.
And you've got to be able to service those moves by hiring movers and obviously having trucks and dispatch and all that. But it's like you got your sales going.
Yeah.
And you're constantly able to book moves, and you've got your hiring process going for movers, and you've got that. Everything else is just, there's details in between. But those are the two main things. Book the move, service the move. Book the move, service the move. So, yes, it's different today. But I would, anybody who's sitting and thinking about this, like the moving business is tough in 2020, or it's different than it was 22 years ago. What we tend to do as humans is when we don't understand something, we start to reject it, or we start to fear it, or we realize that we need to learn more about it, and we go right after it. And so I think, for the people that want to just say the moving business is, like he says, gone to shit, or, it's not so easy, guys don't want to work. There's all kinds of reasons that people can complain about what it is, right? But there's also strategies that aren't that hard that will solve all these problems. It's all perception.
Right.
Right. This guy, you get this guy. He comes at a seminar, and we sit him next to someone that we know has a totally different perception.
Yeah.
And they talk for 3 days. It's going to be
change everything.
It'll change everything.
Yeah.
It's just
Perspective.
I'm not like I'm not selling anybody a dream. Like this is hard work, right? This is not. But here's the difference between just like doing the work and then trying to go figure out a way.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. Like, I know it's challenging. So I'm saying like, hey, let me help you avoid all these like rabbit holes that you could go down looking for solutions, and just lay out a plan for you. Right. And this is, on a macro level, like this is what's needed. You've got to book moves. You've got to service moves. It's really that simple, and then everything else in between is just details that we lay out in courses and seminars and all that. But
yeah. Now, there's nothing wrong with somebody who has gotten to a certain level in their company, and they're cruising along, and they're comfortable, and they're happy with the way things are going. And I think maybe a guy like this who's been in the business for 22 years, at some point, he did have to do some work to get off the ground, I would imagine. And then maybe he just got to a certain level where he felt like business is good. He didn't want much more than, what they were doing. Is it like, does somebody have to have that go get 'em attitude? And I mean, like, where is his bitterness coming from? That's what I want to know. Like, he must have
his bitterness is coming because his business is probably going down.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to say failing, but it's going down.
Yeah.
And I could totally understand this, and I know quite a few people like this, that, and it's a natural tendency too. Like, you build a business, you get it to a certain place, and then everything you set up everything. So it's just like, you got your little routine going, right?
Yeah.
Jobs are being booked, guys are being, we're servicing the moves, everything's fine. So he probably had a good amount of years where he thought he was done innovating. He thought he was done trying to make things better. He got to a place, I'm assuming, but I'm in my mind, I'm thinking of several people that I know that went through the same thing, right? They get to a place where they're like, I'm good, I'm comfortable, I've got a business, it runs, it makes the money that I wanted to make. Yeah, sure, I could always make more money. And then all of a sudden, enemy fire starts coming in at you, right? It's like, boom, this stops working. Oh, now there's these lead, review sites online. And, if you don't have a good review, then you're not going to get the business. Oh, and then when you get a good review, they take down your good review, right? So this is like this, you got to understand, like, from being in a nice cushy place of things are going good, it's like enemy fire coming at you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're being attacked.
You feel threatened.
Yeah. And, many years of being comfortable, it's tough to, like, say, let me go do this all over again.
Yeah.
Because when you succeed at that first level of saying, hey, I just need to get my business off the ground, right? And you get to that level where it's good and it's stabilized, and then you kind of sit back a little bit and you're like, all right, I don't have to work like I used to work. And then something comes in and kind of challenges you to have to do that again. And then, but it's not something's coming in saying, hey, I'm challenging you to do this. It's saying, hey, your business is failing.
Yeah.
There's these things out there that could be the possible culprits of what's going on. Go figure out what's happening.
And you don't know.
And you don't know. Like, I get it. I'm what I did, I don't get into detail enough about how challenging it was to make those shifts. It's not like I was like, oh yeah, one day, I decided I need to learn marketing and I just went and did that. Right. I went through all the same stuff of like, man, I was living really, really, really good before that recession came. And then I had to really change the way I looked at everything. So, anybody that's in that position that's comfortable, right now things have been booming. I think that you've always got to be looking for, first of all, if you know your numbers, you see things dropping, you've got to be able to identify what it is, right? And I know the feeling, right? When you've got a successful business, success can totally be the enemy.
Yeah, it makes you relax.
It makes you relax. It makes you sit back and, not that you don't need to go, oh, I'm successful or I'm stressful, right? It doesn't need to be one or the other. You just have to be aware, right? You've got to be aware of what's going on. And a long run of success for somebody doing something the same way, you have two choices. You could sit and complain and go, oh, these internet stuff's going on and the guys don't want to work. I mean, you got two ways to do it. Or you can say, okay, what can I do about it? How can I step up my game and use this as a challenge to become better?
Yeah.
How can I do this? Because you know what? If you're struggling with it, other people are struggling with it. He's probably has something to say about all the competition too.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're struggling with it, other people are struggling with it. And so that's the perfect time for you to step up your game and make sure that you will survive whatever comes your way. Right?
If someone is has been running a company for 22 years like he has, and things have been just on autopilot basically. How would somebody like that go about creating some sort of contingency plan? Like that, maybe they don't want to necessarily grow a scale, but they want to be prepared if something happens.
I don't think that people don't want to grow and don't want to scale. I truly believe that they just feel like it's going to be more work for them.
Right.
And they look at, okay, I'm at this level, and at this level, I've got this much stress.
Mm-hmm.
I work this many hours. So if I want to go to this level, that means the amount of stress and the amount of hours are also going to go up. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a very common and I think just natural feeling that's a misconception.
Yeah, it makes sense to think about.
It makes sense to think about. So
Yeah.
I think that, a lot of times, people will consciously or unconsciously say, I'm good here. I don't want to go any further. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because, they've reached a certain comfortable level, but, you've got to reach a level that's beyond comfort so that you can safeguard yourself against whatever happens. Like get beyond, so you could weather any storm, get beyond where you currently are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so listen, if somebody's totally happy, they're totally content, they just need to make sure that they're watching, certain KPIs, certain key performance indicators. They're seeing what's going on in their business. They're, identifying any dips right away and still maintaining it. Right.
Yeah.
But there's maintaining and then there's building. And if you're just maintaining, it becomes very hard to just do the same amount without it dipping.
It just naturally wants to start
It
dipping.
naturally wants to start dipping.
Yeah.
And so, if somebody's comfortable, they're making the money they want to make, their business is smooth, their business is running, the question I would ask them is like, if you didn't receive, if you weren't going to have more stress, you didn't have to work more hours, you could actually have less stress and work less hours, would you want a bigger business or more profitable? Would you want more money? Forget about like how, the business doesn't always have to be bigger. I know very big businesses that aren't making a lot of money. And I know, mid-sized businesses that are making a ton of money.
Yeah.
So would you want to make more money? Who's going to say no?
Right.
It's that people are like, I don't want to sell my soul to make more money.
Yeah.
Right. Of course not. But that's, it's just a different strategy and it's just a different approach to doing it. And, we have to look at happiness too. People are like, money doesn't buy happiness. But one of the main indicators in psychology of happiness is if you're activating your full potential. Is directly tied to your happiness. Really. So if you could be doing more and you're not, and you feel a little uneasy, you feel like something's missing, right? It's because you've got more in you. Doesn't mean you got more hours in you. Doesn't mean you got more stress in you. It just means you could use what's between your ears and what's in your head, right? To become more resourceful, to get more creative, and to start saying like, is there a better way I could be doing this?
Yeah.
What could I be doing? Maybe raise your level of ambition to, if you're like, hey, I just want to increase by 10%. Well, how do we increase by 50% or 100%?
Mm-hmm. You had mentioned earlier, what did you say, a $500,000 mindset versus a $5 million mindset?
Well, strategy.
Oh,
Strategy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's like if if you're in a position where you're trying to get your business to, let's say, $500,000 a year, you're going to have one strategy that's going to help you get there, right? And it's going to be very short term. It's going to be very based on like next month and that type of thing. But if you lay out how do we get to 5 million, even just asking that question and thinking through the answers, you're going to have a whole different strategy. And what a lot of people do is they go, no, that's too much work. That's going to take too long.
Yeah.
Right. Or they don't even think about how long it's going to take. They just think about how much work it's going to take and how much like pressure it's going to feel on them.
Yeah.
So short term, they're like, I need to get 500,000 this year. But okay, why couldn't you get to 5 million in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? and just start. So what I'm saying is your strategy changes. Doesn't mean you're going to go from 0 to 5 million in a year.
Yeah.
But what it means is you'll pass through that milestone of hitting 500,000, of course. But if your strategy is laid out to go to 5 million, it's going to be, you see what I'm saying? It's a game plan to get there. Otherwise, you get stuck at where your current strategy was and just spin in circles.
Yeah. Right. I think probably a lot of people don't even have a strategy. They just kind of get to a certain point and they say, okay, I guess this is where I'm going to stay. This is where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's, and I get that. I totally get that, right? Because the initial start of the business is so challenging that when you get to a place of stabilization, right, where you're stabilized, it's like, and it is time. It's time to take a breath.
That's okay.
It's time to take a step back. It's time to take a breath. But once you stabilize, then you've got to come in and you've got to optimize.
Yeah.
Right? Take your breath, take your break, take your time, reduce your hours that you work, start to pick up those hobbies that you didn't have before, schedule in that time with the family. Great. But use your time now to optimize the business. Then once you optimize the business, now you sit back and you look at it like an amazing piece of work that you created, right? You designed this amazing thing that's running, it's optimized, and now you really feel proud of what you've done.
Yeah, right. It's okay to hang out there for a little while.
And then you hang out there for a minute.
Yeah.
Right? And then from there, from an optimized place, you decide, do I want to scale? Right? And, you know, the first rule of scale is, do I need to scale?
What does that mean?
That means, do you need to open more locations? Do you need to get a new division? Do you need to get into commercial and long distance and this and that in order to reach your personal income goals?
Okay.
Right?
And it's not always
the case.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, why, you know, I see a lot of people that will open an office too soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Or, you know, open a new division too soon. And I shouldn't even say too soon in a time regard. It's more like there's just other fundamentals that aren't in place first that need to be locked down.
Yeah.
And, you know, in an attempt to make more money, but when we, you know, I'll sit with several people like this and say, okay, well, how much money do you want to make? And they say that number, and I'll challenge them to go, you know, compare that to what it's going to take. You know, go make a list of everything that you want in your life. What's it really going to take to live that life? Go sit with a financial planner, do it yourself, whatever you need to do. But everything you want, what's it going to cost you to do that? Okay, that means that this is what you need to make in order to live, invest, save, pay your taxes, do whatever. And a lot of times they could do that with their one office.
Yeah.
And keep things simple.
It can be a recipe for disaster to try to expand like that without being ready for it or having the fundamentals in place.
Yeah, and so what happens is, you know, a lot of people will actually jump before they even get stabilized.
Yeah.
And go right to scale without stabilizing or optimizing. Right? And so that's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's how you take the whole ship down with you. So
okay. Getting back to the marketing, what's a way for let's just, for the sake of argument, call him an old school person, right? Somebody who came from those Yellow Pages days.
Yeah.
What's a way for them to kind of start learning about the new marketing, SEO and pay-per-click and buying leads and stuff like that?
Honestly, go to lewismassaro.com, go to sales and marketing, watch all those videos, go back in the podcast, listen to anything that has the word marketing in it. You know, that's the place to start for free. You know, we've got courses, we've got seminars, we've got, you know, coaching, we've got all kinds of programs to help with that. Yeah. But it would be crazy for me to tell somebody to go on the journey I went on. When I went and I sought out the information, brought it back, not like I went and brought some information like I'm just some messenger and I went and hey guys, I went and studied a bunch of marketing books and let me tell you what I found. No, I went and learned everything I could, right? Books, coaches, mentors, consultants, courses, all of it, right? Still to this day, constantly. Yeah. But then came and applied it to the moving business.
Right.
On a high level. right? So for me, it might sound self-serving to go, oh, well, go listen, go watch the videos, go watch my videos. But I believe that that's for anybody in moving, that is the best information out there that they could get, right? Other than, of course, seminars, coaching, courses, and all that with us. But it's so tried and true and proven and tested.
Yeah.
That's where I would start, because, a lot of books out there are, the authors are writing them there's a lot of great ones, but a lot of books are, they're writing these books in a way where it's just like way over people's heads, and it's totally unnecessary, and it's like to make the author just sound smart. I don't know what the deal is, but it's just a lot of fluff and so it's like, I'll tell people all the time, like, you're better off going to the bookstore and going to the, personal development section and reading that stuff, getting your mind right, getting the psychology books.
Rather than business.
Well, especially if you're in the moving business.
Yeah.
Like, we've laid it all out.
Right.
So I'm not saying it's not good to learn. Go, you could read books and you could do all that, but you asked, like, where's the best place? I mean, that's the best place.
So speaking of personal development and stuff, how important is that in being able to evolve and grow and change, with a business? Yeah,
I mean, it comes when you look at this gentleman here. It's a guy.
Yeah.
This is what would be considered in psychology a fixed mindset,
right,
versus a growth mindset, right? Which is like, this is happening and everything just stays fixed. Whereas in a growth mindset, you're looking for you're adapting and you're growing as an individual, right? If you look at, he started 2 years before I started. I don't know where he's at. And it's not about bigger business or anything like that, but the amount of growth that I've experienced from all of the same challenges that he went through.
Right.
That's what life's all about, right? Like, if you're not using every single one of these challenges that you face in your business to grow as a business person, as an individual, you're wasting those opportunities, and you'll stay stuck within those walls that are keeping you confined until you decide to grow. So you could either go over those walls, around those walls, or, bust straight through them.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's super important.
Let's talk about Yelp. He's saying Yelp takes down all of the good reviews.
Yeah.
Is that just, I know Yelp is changing their algorithms, frequently and.
So we think. That's what we say.
Yeah.
But the truth is, like, we really don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not, they're going to do whatever they want to do. It's their business.
So what's a way to ensure that you can always have a good representation of your company on Yelp?
You've got to just do the best job you can, and you've got to be proactive with asking for the reviews. And it is what it is. You've got, do they take, did you get 5-star reviews? Did you get a ton of 5-star reviews and they filter all of them?
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? I mean, what? And this is probably somebody in this guy's category.
Yeah.
If we were to, categorize him, would, like, totally disengage from Yelp and stop responding to reviews and stop dealing with it, because they get so pissed off that, like, all their good reviews are down, that they just totally say, oh, I'm not dealing with Yelp. Oh, Yelp wants me to advertise. I'm not dealing with that. I'm not advertising with them. Right. And
that's not a good idea.
It's not. You have to accept the landscape that is out there.
Yeah.
You've got to accept every single bit of it. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you like Yelp. I don't care if you don't like Yelp. They're here and they're a part of this business right now in 2020.
Yeah.
So, play the game.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like, do everything you can to get that 5-star rating. And that's what you have to do. I mean, it's just, I say that, but at the same time, I know the feeling of getting that 5-star review and it gets filtered.
Yeah.
I know the feeling of getting that 1-star review and you can't even figure out who it is. You're like, this isn't even our customer, right? I've looked everywhere, like, this doesn't even make sense. This isn't even our customer. I know that. But the reality is, like, I don't know. My thought process is always, can I do something about it? If so, let me take action and do something about it. If not, let me just accept it and move on.
Right.
I'm not gonna like tear
Stay
myself
stuck on
apart
it.
and have a sick stomach because Yelp took my 5-star review down.
Yeah.
You know, and it stings at first, right? And the idea is like with that type of stuff, you know, talking about the mental game for a moving CEO, right? Somebody that's you've got to be able to, you know, you get upset about something, your mover doesn't show up, right? One of your sales reps does something wrong, puts the wrong notes in the system, it screws up a job. Yelp takes down your 5-star review. You've got to just, you'll get mad. You'll feel a burn in your stomach, right? To whatever level you're used to feeling that.
Yeah.
You've got to just start little by little closing the gap between the time that the thing happens that you're pissed off about and the time where you shake it off and let it go.
Yeah. There's no benefit to just staying.
Just is, you know, if you need to feel it for 5 minutes and get pissed and punch whatever you got to do, punch walls, you know, whatever it is, close the gap from the place where you're pissed to the place where you're all good again, because that's where your company needs you to be on point. Not to be upset about little trivial stuff.
Yeah.
It's not that, again, $500,000 strategy gets mad over a Yelp review. $5 million strategy says that's part of the game. Move the F on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Either deal with it or, you know, accept it.
That's it.
Is what it is.
What could we do to, you know, what could we do to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Something happens. What can we do to make sure that doesn't happen again?
So you had addressed the last part of his comment, which he said, "I'm not so sure it's as easy as you make it out to be. Get real, buddy." Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think you make it seem as easy as he maybe thinks you do. But I would say maybe you could give just a couple of, you know, helpful tips or pointers for somebody who may be experiencing some of these same, you know, feelings that this guy's going through.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, you know, I think we kind of sprinkled a bunch of them all throughout this episode. Go back and listen to it again. But I would say, you know, today in 2020, to win in 2020 in the moving business, you've got to have your marketing on point. You've got to know your numbers, your marketing ROI report. Okay, you've got to have that. You know, Smart Moving users, it's in there, it's built in for you.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I'm a co-founder of Smart Moving. You know, you've got to know those numbers so that you could test certain things, track them based on what the ROI is, and then tweak them. So your marketing, you got to get on top of that. Then your sales process has to be more than, hey, we call people, we leave them a message, and we move on, and that's it. You've got to really dial that in. Go to lewismassaro.com, watch all the videos on sales, right? Click on the sales category, watch all those videos just to get you started. And then you've got to make sure you've got your mover hiring process down.
Right.
Yes, it's hard. Double, triple, quadruple down on the effort that you make to hire movers. And instead of looking at it as just something we do once in a while when we need people and we put an ad and like it used to be kind of easy, look at it as something where this needs to be a built-in process, that the minute we need somebody, we hit play on the process, you know, the recruitment effort goes out and we run them through it, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, it's got to be taken more seriously. It can't be something where, you know, your dispatcher says, hey, we're short on guys, and you're like, oh, well, run an ad. Right,
Yeah.
you got to step it up.
No,
you got to step it up, and you got to tackle it, because that's the companies that are crushing it right now. Right, they've got all three of these things lined up solidly.
Yeah.
So I would say focus on those three things.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Well, I won't throw curveballs at you anymore for, you know, negative comments, but I thought.
No, I like that. I like it. Was good. I think it's important, Chris, because I know there's a lot of people that feel that way.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And it's there's nothing wrong with them. It's just sometimes you need someone else to shed light on a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Right. And when you are in a position where you know, you're a business owner, you own the company, a lot of times you don't have people around you that will tell you the tough things that they need to tell you. That's because true. The people that are surrounding you almost every day are your employees.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, and sometimes you could get some decent feedback from them and some good feedback from them from, trusted people.
Yeah.
But if you don't have someone else to, share that perspective and say, hey, why don't you look at it like this? Actually, let's send him a link to this. Let's make sure he gets this.
Okay.
This and listens to this and say, we made this for you. But I hope that just the change in perspective gets him to look at it there, because he can change all this so easily.
Yeah.
And I say that again, he can change all this so easily. I'm not saying that the business is easy.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But he can make the changes. All it is steps. Do this, do that, do this, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Take the steps, but believe that it's possible. Anybody that is feeling this way, they don't believe that it's possible, right? They're like, the world's going on, the world's going to end. Like, you've got to block all that out. Ignore that. Go for what's in front of you, because the iron is hot right now, and a lot of people are making a lot of money. That's just
true.
the reality of it.
Well, he was asking for you to get real. I think you just got real on him.
Yeah, so probably more than he was expecting from his comment. But listen, guys, if you let me know what you think about these episodes. If you are loving this, if you're liking this, if you're hating this, if you're getting some perspective, some motivation, some tips, some strategies, let me know. Just send me a DM at Louis Massaro on Instagram. Send me a picture of you listening to this. I love to get the feedback. I love to know that we're not just sitting here talking to each other for no reason. Leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. Let me know what you think about this specific episode. And if you don't already have your tickets for our upcoming seminar, Moving CEO Live, make sure you go to movingseminar.com. That's movingseminar.com. For 3 days, I'm going to lay out detailed step-by-step strategies on how to dominate the next 10 years of the moving business. You need to be there. Go to movingseminar.com. All the details are there. And until we see you next time, go out there every single day, profit in your business, and thrive in your life. I'll see you later, my friends. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. And if you're really ready to take your moving company to that next level, watch that video right there. And until I see you in the next one, go out there every single day, profit in your business, and thrive in your life.